But you are involved in things like the Masik Kampung and stuff like that, right? So that is a new, interesting experiment almost.
Yeah, and it arose because parents are very worried about their children growing up absurd. Songs by the TV, right? So they say, hey, we've got to do something about this, And they can't do it in Singapore. They know they can't do it in Singapore. But you guys think you can do it in Singapore? Great, do it. Right? I wrote a letter to Vivian Balakrishnan last week, and he replied to me suggesting exactly what you all have been doing. I didn't know what you were doing. And he says that he's passed my proposal to URA. I said, and the proposal is exactly this, to set up small design groups, working communities, to do what they can do within the housing board estates, working with the apes and amas, to see what you can do in the work there. Let's have little shops, let's grow some vegetables and so on. But on that point, your mention of Fukuoka very interesting. Go to YouTube and just key in seed ball. Alright? Seed ball. Little ball. It's a Fukuoka plant where you collect seeds and then you mix it with compost and clay, and then you roll it into a pot, you dry it, then you throw it everywhere, see? So you can green the whole of Singapore. And nobody knows where it is. Guerrilla landscape.
Suddenly you get Big Jones.
Chili, tomatoes. But your reference to the Cameron Islands project, I have one very important suggestion to make. I had a meeting with Professor Hugh Tan at the Botany Department in the US, and he says you should do this. Biochar. Okay? It's charcoal made out of all kinds of organic stuff, all organic waste wood. And then you bury the charcoal in the soil. It does three things. Number one, you are actually sequestering carbon. Because the charcoal will remain in the ground for thousands of years. That means you've taken the carbon from the air, put it into charcoal in the ground. Second point is that it will retain all the nutrient and don't let the nutrient run away. So you use much less fertilizer. Number three, it retains the water. Okay? So this is what we do. I think this is one project that we can actually get communities to do. Right? To make charcoal from all the tree cuttings and all that, and start putting it into the soil. You are really making the soil fertile.
Done some clay balls.
And archaeology, the discovery of this was found by archaeologists in the Amazon jungle. They found ancient cultivation sites with 1 meter thick of this biochar. And these are the carbon dated 2,000, 3,000 years ago. And the villagers are now going there to collect this thing. It's fantastically fertile. And they're using it in their planting, you see. So this is a well-proven method. We should use.
Is the charcoal created by natural processes, or is it?
You create the charcoal. Yeah.
So it's
Gardens and all that.
You actually create it by burning the charcoal without oxygen. So the heat will carbonize the thing into charcoal. The gas that comes out you can use it as biogas. During the Japanese occupation, when Singapore, there were a few cars, there was no petrol. They used charcoal. So behind, you go in the YouTube, you can see some pictures of it. Just key in Japanese occupation Singapore. You get some he had this car with an oil barrel behind the car, and the smoke was coming out, and they're making the charcoal behind the car, and then pumping the gas into the engine, and they're driving the car with the gas.
Sakti behind.
We want to open up to anyone in the audience, share your views or say something.
Colin, where are you?
I was just thinking that the triple bottom line, I mean, these ideals are fantastic. We all, I think, have an innate desire for good, but we also always treading this balance between servicing a client and the client's agenda. I mean, I'm very curious. I just asked Kang Shin here what happened to that site that you showed us. And it must have been long deliberations or influencing the client's attitudes, right, towards what eventually you build that. Because the architect is someone who shapes the process but isn't fully in control. We're doing the bidding of somebody's agenda too, right? And I think that's just that's one element which I think this idealism has to address in some practical way, because it's not my money that's funding what I want to do, it's somebody else's, etc. So
I think there are two probably levels of interaction with that regard. Number one is influencing the client. I think we have help from the government these days. We have leads, we have green mark, we have quite a lot of these things that actually give a push, you know. And I think when we are specifying stuff, you know, we can then start to ask, you know, how is this manufactured? You know, so when the tile guy comes, you know, how is this sustainable? You know, if it's not, then we don't do it. I think to a degree that we can practice and we can be conscious about the decisions we're making. If, let's say, all of us can do like 30%, I think that is 30%, that's a lot. Even if it's 10%, it's 20%, that's a lot. To cut down on some of these practices, you know. And I think also to think of ways to do stuff, to design things that are made in an easier way, you know, to see the beauty in something that might not need like 7 layers of processing, you know. You know, thinking, that means we start to want to think, once we start to ask the question, how can we do good, how can we do not affect the environment, I think it will lead us to areas that we have not even started to think about. Like for example, now we are looking at earth and bamboo all over again, and I'm like, you know, that is something that we never thought we would even look at.